So that was Odissi, the way ahead for you.
Welcome all. Friends, it's a very odd session in a literature festival where we are going to discuss Odissi. But in last 60 years, the only experience, only thing that takes Odisha to the global map, that is Odissi. Before 1954, hardly anyone knows a word called Odissi. It was in 1954, two young dancers from Odisha, they went to perform in the youth festival of Delhi. And for the first time in the Statesman, celebrated art critic Charles Fabry wrote a small review, and he said that there is extreme potential, there is great potential in this dance form. And history began from there. In 1976, in another seminar, the Mahari, Dida and Mahari, what is her name? No. Harapriya Devdasi. Harapriya Devdasi presented a paper. That was the only paper presented by a Devdasi in any seminar. And I quote Harapriya Devdasi, she said, "You want me to say what I do inside the Jagannath temple?" And my answer would be, why should I say what I do with my husband inside the temple, inside our bedroom? So, a very secret, a very, I can say, a very mystic dance form, which was redesigned, reorganized in 1950s, 1960s, and now it is a global identity of Odisha. So, by saying so, when we are having a traditional dance form, a dance form which is strongly traditional, which is having a strong identity, it is opening up to a new world, where we can see that at least 100 countries, now they are having Odissi dancers, scholars, they are practicing dance. So this double identity, this opening up a new identity and sticking up to the traditional form, how we see this conflict, and out of this conflict, how we march ahead, how we go forward. So my first question will be to my panelists who are very experienced dancers, and Subhas is a scholar who lives dance actually. He is not a dancer, but all his life he is among the dancers. He is one among the dancers community actually. So I want to ask Aruna Mohanty, how you see this conflict and how you see the new challenges of this globalization or the opening of today, how we go forward.
Namaskar. Can you hear me? Okay. I agree with Kedar that what we are doing in a literary session where we are trained for last 50 years only to express ourselves through body language and facial expression, not to speak a word. But answering or responding to his question, there is actually no conflict. Where is the conflict? The dance is not only about the grammar and technique, but dance cannot stand in isolation. Dance is something when you express what you experience in your life. You make your own statement. But technically, if you look at it, dance has to go with Sahitya. Without Sahitya, dance can't exist in isolation. Without Sangita, dance can't exist in isolation. Without the life of a particular region, why we call it Odissi? Because it depicts the pain, pleasure, lifestyle, happiness, the different emotions, and norms, values, way of life of Odias. That is why it's Odissi, and we are creating our identity. Thank you. When I was talking to my student, I always tell them that when we are talking in context of globalization, every day we face challenge. It's not that when Guru Pankacharan Das, Keducharan Mahapatra and Devaprasad Das, they started restructuring Odissi or defining Odissi or creating kind of what we call Gantaghara of Odissi, they also face the same challenge. Because what their teachers and their predecessors were doing, they were trying to take it forward or add something little more to it. So then also they face this challenge, what we are facing now. But today, when we are looking at our students, we know that we have a bigger challenge because we were taught not to ask questions to our teachers. We were supposed to take it as it was given to us. Whether we understand, don't understand, like a parrot, we have to take it, whatever is given to us, and we used to do it. But now, when we are facing a young group of students, we see the spark in their eyes, and we see 1,000 questions lurking behind those gauges. Why, how, where?
Do you want to say that the dance is becoming more democratic nowadays? Because in your time, you had no courage to ask any question to your guru, but your students are asking more questions nowadays.
No, I won't agree with you. Don't give those political words to me. Democracy, soft
democracy is
development.
not a political word, it's a way of life.
No, that's true. But here what I wanted to tell you is that not that what our teachers were not encouraging us to ask questions, but we thought we were like sponge. We were kind of taking everything that was given to us because we thought that is the way the traditional training should happen. But now the training methodology has changed. And I'm talking about my students who come from different corners of the world. Some of them, they come and they accept it. Whatever we tell them, whatever we ask them to do, they do it. And we ask them to read Odia, we ask them to sing Odia songs, whatever they are going to do, and they do it. And we tell them there is no difference between a girl coming from San Francisco and a girl from Bhubaneswar, because the girl from Bhubaneswar is also going to an English medium school. She is more comfortable with the English language and expression through English words than Odia. So that is not the case now. But the biggest challenge is that in context of globalization, the theme and concept we are going to deal with now. I remember my Guruji used to tell me, beyond Radha Krishna, nothing should be done in Odissi. And I was heavily criticized when I did a composition in 1990 called Citaristi or Pralaya, which was based on super cyclone that hit coastal Odisha in 1999. So my Guruji said, what is this? Why you have to do it in Odissi? Do you think you are Anand Sankar? Then I sat with him, I kind of discussed with him, I analyzed it. I said, Odissi should not be confined to only one theme or one concept. So in the global perspective, now we are looking at themes, issues, and the philosophy and the abstract concepts. And we, like Ileana and me, we have just done Hermann Hesse Siddharth, which is written by a German writer. But we were both of us, without discussing, without knowing that both of us are doing this, But our approach and thought process behind this was completely different.
Okay. When you talk about the new concept, new ideas, there are also many challenges. And Ileana must be remembering, now we are struggling with a few dancers who are arguing that if you want to make new world to see Odissi, then you have to adopt new things. So now we can see that new kind of texts or new kind of experiments are coming up, not the experiments that you are talking or Aruna is talking. Suppose Ed Sheeran is an example. How do you see these kind of developments actually? Do you accept this new generation of Odissi, so-called new generation of Odissi, going beyond the traditional format, rejecting the idea of purity? How do you see that actually?
Namaskar. I think Kedar is referring to the latest big issue, which is sort of unified us against some other people who are not talking.
I want to bring out that issues actually.
So the issue was Shape of You, which was in YouTube. And is a very popular English song with a very, we can say, vulgar type of meaning behind. And it was portrayed in Odissi costume and Odissi dance near the temples. And it was also projected as a popularization of not only Odissi, but also Odisha tourism. So yeah, there was a spontaneous reaction from some of us, and like I can talk about myself. I was maybe surprised myself about this kind of reaction because I've never been a very. I mean, I have also faced a lot of criticism because of my experiments and how it is that suddenly I became. I took the part of the traditionalist bracket. So, because what hurt me, it was like as if the entire effort of a generation of artists, the guru, whatever they have tried to establish this Odissi dance form in a respectable, dignified ways, because it had actually gone into a reputation in the middle of the last century, which was not so great. I mean, ladies were not taking up to dance in the middle of the in the last century because it was the reputation of dancers or the ladies doing dance was not so great. It was looked down. So suddenly, as if the life of all these gurus who struggle and my own life for which I dedicated, it was as if it was going just to the drainage because of this experiment in which so lightly and so without thinking maybe some young dancers had put up on the YouTube. So these kind of experiments, they've hurt the people who have dedicated their life to this dance, and knowing that this dance it is not just a technique, and as Aruna was saying, it is a reflection of a full culture. So there is the entire life, the entire belief, the entire philosophy, the entire mannerism, the entire architecture and saitya and music of a culture, of a cultural context, which is a reflection of all this. And moreover, it has come out from a basic instinct, basic feeling of devotion. And for me, it has been very important when I came from the West. I mean, after all, I was a rebel before coming here. I had really discarded all the traditions, all the imposition which were imposed on me in the West. And I had become a hippie, and I had become a feminist. I tried the drugs. I have tried many ways of finding my own way of expression. But how it is that none of them were satisfying me, and I found this here in Orissa, at the feet of my guru, and completely in a form which is so traditional, after having rejected all the traditions over there. So this is the big contradiction, but in a way means that here, that soul which is inside the dance, it was not only a technique. Otherwise, it would not have taken me so totally. It would not have satisfied me so totally after I had already tried so many ways around. So this is what it is very important. It is very important to preserve this soul, this spiritual, this devotional background, this devotional urge, which is at the basis of this dance. So for me, this is important, and this is what this kind of experiment we are not respecting.
Okay, when you talk about the spirit, what is the exact meaning, or what is the exact definition of spirit of Odissi? I want to know it from Dr. Subhas Pani, who is part of Odissi as a music composer, as an interpreter of Gita Govinda, and an organizer of Odissi Dance Festival, and above all, he is a part of Odissi audience. He is a connoisseur actually, a rasika, who understands dance much better than anyone else. So what is that spirit actually? What you can say that it's the spirit of Odissi?
Namaskar. I suppose I can speak in Odia also, with permission of Professor Shiva Prakash. Odissi आत्मा कहुपे कौन विभिन्न दृष्टि से देखा जापे मु ओडिसी सहित संपृक्त हेली 1960 मसीहा 60 दशक विगत शताब्दीर कोरापुट्रे से गोटे नुआ अनुष्ठान कलानिकेतन आरंभ कराइला नटवर महाराणा और त्रिनाथ महाराणा दी भाई सेठी आसिकी दी जन ओडिसी गुरु आरंभ करथिले मोर मन अच्छी नंदिनी और पंकजिनी दी भौणी से करुले से भंज साहित्य सभा सब ओडिशार उपात अंचल जगदलपुर एसब अंचल होता से ओडिसी नाच कराला कि शोभगो कुंजे मदन मोहन चाहारे ना यहाँ शुणिले आप कहे ये ओडिसी शुणिक आपंकर कौन सी कन्फ्यूजन हेनी मैंने कौन सी यही जो ओडिसी मोर व्यक्तिगत मत बहुत जिनस अच्छी एवं बहुत प्रकार दृष्टि ओडिसी को देखी हम ओडिसी आगे कौन करवा वे हेड कथा आज विचार करा जाउछि किंतु ओडिसीर सत्ता जदि आम देखा ताले एथर संगीत होछि तार गोटे मूल सत्ता तार आत्मा एवं आमे मोर व्यक्तिगत भाव में अनुरोध समस्त को जे आम ओडिसी प्रथम ओडिसी संगीतर जो निजस्व जिनस रही जो कौन सी कई आदर खाद ना कि ना आम अन्य माने अन्य माने अन्य किसी अंग भंगी सब किसी करें कि ओडिसी संगीतटा को कई कहीपर जो यहाँ आमर आम संगीत से अन्य भारत वर्ष
ओडिसी संगीत कहले आम ओडिया संगीत कहवा ना ओडिसी धारार संगीत कहवा
ओडिसी आप भाषा जहाँ व्यवहार करते कि संगीतटा तो भाषा द्वारा सीमित नुहे किंतु ता पछर भाषा गोटे जो मु तो कहली जो संगीत गोटे ये तापर को आस साहित्य जो दीटा आमर तापर आम जो आसुचु ओडिसी जो आम तार जो सृष्टि बा ये देखा तार जो परंपरा जोटा कहले प्रथमे आपण जे देवदासी नृत्य आसला से गीत गोविंद कथा भी आसो अन्य कथा आसो तेबे आमे जेतेबेले ओडिसीर निजस्व जिनस कौन अच्छी भाविबा कौटे आम आइडेंटिफाई करें से संगीत गोटे मूल जिनस कहली साहित्य भी अच्छी साहित्य बहुत कथा अच्छी से भर को डिटेल्स को जीवानी तापर आडिशीर जो गोटे डांस फॉर्म हिसाब से तार जो अंग भंगी मुद्रा अन्य जिनस अच्छे से केतेटा आम अन्य विशेष करके दक्षिण भारत केते गुड़ नृत्य शैली सहित तार किसी सामंजस्य रही जदिव कथक सहित ये सामंजस्य ना कि मणिपुरी सहित सामंजस्य नहीं दक्षिण भारत सहित अच्छे तार कारण भी अच्छी सेटा को भी एते डिटेल को जीवार कौन बर्तमान स्कोप नहीं किंतु संगीत साहित्य एवं जो नृत्यर जो शैली ये तीनटा को मिसिकी ही ओडिशा गोटे संपूर्ण सामग्रिक जिनस गोटे काढ़ीदेले आटा संपूर्ण हेनी तेरे शेष गोटे कथा मुझे कहवाक चाहिए कहीं आलोचना हम आहरी हूँ तो ऑडियंस भी किसी पचारि पारती मुझे बर्तमान मोर मन पड़ी 1984 मसीहार कथा जिते प्रथम आमर मुक्तेश्वर उत्सव होता जिते मुक्तेश्वर उत्सव करागला तार परिकल्पना आम मैंने कलु सेटा थिला प्रथम संपूर्ण भाव ओडिसी नृत्य समारोह एवं से ओडिसी जो विभिन्न धारा गुरु मानकर विभिन्न शैली सब थिला केलुचरण महापात्र थे पंकज चरण दास बंची थे एवं कटक आसते कला विकास केन्द्र तो से आमर जो ओडिसी गोटे सामग्रिक प्रेजेंटेशन से कराई कौन कराई दी तीन टा जिनस मुझे खाली कहवाक चाहूँगी गोटे आम जोटा आप कहले भक्ति भावटा इलेना कहले से भक्तिटा आमर गोटे प्रमुख भित्तिभूमि या कहबी मुझे कहूँ भक्ति छड़ा आउ कि ओडिशा ना यहाँ कहले ठीक हेनी कि भित्तिभूमि गोटे भक्ति भाव नहीं कि आरंभ होता प्रथम शिव मंदिर कराला आमर से पचर जो मुक्तेश्वर मंदिर अच्छी प्रथम जाकि संयुक्ता और कुमकुम से मंदिर भितर आलती करी जेहेतु से गोटे लिविंग टेम्पल बोली कह आलती करके से चढ़ी स्टेज को आसिले गणेश अच्छा सिद्धेश्वर मंदिर डाण पटे से गोटे कैटवाक कराई से गणेश को आलती कले तापर नृत्य करागला आमर ओडिसी वे हेड मुझे खाली यही गोटे जिनस कहवाक चाहूँगी जो अति उच्चकोटीर संपूर्ण केवल ओडिसी जिनसटा आमर करवा दरकार से आउ गोटे जिनस आम करूँ जो दी तीन टा छोट छोट जिनस कराई से बहुत कम हो बहुत खुशी कहीं से जो मूलदुआ होता से अरुणा भी थे से जो मैंने से छोट छोट थे से सब बर्तमान प्रतिष्ठित गुरु भी है सेटा ओडिसी रेपर्टोयर को आम बढ़ेवा सेटा गोटे उद्देश्य था उषा विलास जो होता प्रथम थर आम साहित्य से जोटा
मेजर डांस ड्रामा एक्चुअली
ड्रामा है तो आमर साहित्यर जो संभार रही मोर से सजेशन है साहित्य संभार बहुत आहरी माने खणी गंताघर बोली गोटे भल एक्सप्रेशन यूज कले अरुणा से गंताघर आमर साहित्यर जो गंताघर अच्छी जो थ्रू ओडिसी आहरी हो पार अन्न जिनस न करा हो यहाँ मुझे कदाचित कहूँ ये मोर
मु पूरा गोटे वाक्य वेरी वन लाइन आई वांट टू नो फ्रॉम यू जे व्हाट इज द एसेंस ऑफ ओडिसी फॉर यू
एसेंस ऑफ ओडिसी इज इट्स म्यूजिक इट्स लिटरेचर लिटरेरी फाउंडेशन एंड ऑल्सो इट्स अभिनय विच इज फॉर विच ओडिसी इज वेल नोन इट्स लास्य भाव भरत समस्ते से कथा भी कहते भरत समय आरंभ करी कथा आइडेंटिफाई कराई हाउ इज इट ओडिसी इज लाइक डिफरेंट फ्रॉम ये कहीं आप भाषार अच्छी गोटे लास्य भावटा गोटे ओडिसी स्वतंत्र
Can I take a cue from you?
Yeah.
I think
Just taking the cue from Dr. Subhas Pani, you actually cannot express in one sentence the way Kedar Babu wants to tell you, because it's the history of 2000 years and the experience of so many years has been culminated into something as an art form. But I must tell you, when we are all talking about, we agree that music is very important. Music has a particular way of moving. Like when you sing a song I'll just give you one example. Like in Sabda Swarapata, we say dhaga 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 jwala lala tapa tapa baketa chandasa. It's got a particular movement if you put it on a graph. Odissi music has a beautiful gamak, that pattern of wave. That pattern of wave has created that pauses, that silence, that fastness, that pace of the thing. When you sing a song, that when you use that particular music format to express it through body, the kind of grace and lyricism it creates, that is Odissi. I'll just give you one example. When you say in Bharatanatyam, dha, 1 and 2 and 3, there are straight lines. But the same thing when you do it Odissi, it's dha. We take 3 matras to complete this, where it is 1. So that moving from 1, 2, 3, 4, creating a semicircular movement, that we get from that foundation we get from the music. And when the literature is sung in a musical format, that gives the lyricism, that gives that grace, that gives that uniqueness which we call Odissi.
That's I think that's the best way to express what's the essence actually, that showing the difference between Bharatanatyam and Odissi. And again, I want to ask you, Arunapa, when you are doing new compositions, you are doing so many new things actually, taking contemporary poetry, taking music of various genres from many sources actually, from Prahlad Nataka to Sambalpuri to Malesri. So all these varieties within Odisha you are taking up. And sometimes you are also taking some genres of Indian and classical music. But why do you have a problem with things that is out of India or out of Asian identity?
This question I can answer if you give me a 3-hour session, but to make the matter present in a crisp way, when we are taking this art form, through the art form, we are creating a state identity or national identity, like Odissi is one of the Indian classical dance forms. We want to retain the past, param, aparam, which we call tradition. We want to take whatever is given to us by our ancestors, and we are taking it, preserving it, and nurturing it, and enriching it. And we are in a pan-Indian scenario. We are taking other forms of Indian music also, as and when necessary. But when we are doing or thinking of Western classical or popular music called pop music, different forms of world music, then there is a danger, there is a line of appropriateness. I remember I met Pandit Ravi Shankar when he was working with Bob Harrison. They were doing music together, world music and Indian classical music together. So they have been working for months and months, and I have a school in San Diego, so I go. I was practically living in the next house where Raviji was staying. So I asked him, I said, how important and how difficult it is. He said, to create this kind of music, I have to know him, Harrison, his music very well to be able to do a fusion work. And Bob Harrison also, he used to listen to Raviji for months and months without an interruption. He used to listen to Raviji's and the raga vistara and all that. So when, suppose I am working with a Western composer, then probably I'll take years to understand his music, and then to see that where we have the scope to come together and create that one music, which will have the essence of Odissi, it will maintain the characteristics of Odissi, and it will take something from the other music and enrich it. But that should come under the experimental category. And in the Margam category, where we say ki this is the prescribed Margam according to the authentic text in the Sanskrit literature and the research and the sculpture, painting, Pamlik manuscript, 10 things we are taking as resources. If I'm depending on that, I'm going on a Margam, that is a different thing. But when we are going for experimental, we do try to experiment. Now I am doing a poem, Road Less, taken by Robert Frost. And there, I'm deeply impressed by the philosophy of the poem, and that literature inspired me to do something. I'm taking those lines, English lines, as if I'm reading the poem. But when I'm interpreting it through Odissi music.
Okay. Ileana, you have also similar experience, because you have done Maya Darpana, you have done so many experimental things. And what is your experience? And you have also used some Western music, Western classical into your compositions. How it was taken, how it was accepted by the audience in Odisha, outside Odisha?
Before answering to this, I just wanted to make a point that whenever I perform abroad, I will present the most Odissi in the most traditional way. They are not interested to see the experimental. I am not interested to show the experimental because they want to know.
Very
about
important
the
confession
traditional.
actually.
Yeah. So this is very important, and I think it is because we represent, when we go abroad, we represent really Odisha, and I'm so proud every time, so happy that I have Odissi dance which represent Odisha, which is so is a totality of the Odisha culture, because I can talk about everything from Jagannath, which I put on stage, and I have to talk about Jagannath. They don't know what it is Jagannath. They don't know the big eyes and the black collar. So if I do Ahenila Soila, I cannot just do it without making them a little more close to what I'm talking about. So this is very important, and for me, this is the richness of this dance, that when I go out, when I go abroad, I'm not just presenting a technique or a grammar or acrobatic things, but I represent the full culture. So this is one thing.
Yeah, actually I wanted to listen that very word, the totality.
Yeah.
When we talk about the essence, it's the totality of Odisha and Odissi culture. So when you do, I'm actually curious to know about the composition of Maya Darpana. You did not take usual Odissi costume. It was a completely different costume, and also the design was very different. The movements, the light, everything was different. And how it was accepted, okay, I wrote a very good piece
You
on
wrote
that.
a very good,
Yeah,
but I got a lot of criticism by other people. So, but my Guruji praised it. He said that it was a choreographic masterpiece. Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra, the most traditionalist one, he praised that choreography, which was ahead of time.
But you must have remembered, Guruji was very upset when Sarmila used Mridangam in her composition.
I know. But with me, somehow, that Maya Darpana didn't provoke his criticism, but his appreciation. Whereas many other people of the Odisha fraternity, the next day, they really criticized a lot. Maybe because it was ahead of time, maybe. But it was, the concept was given me by Pani. And with this help and with this interpretation of the concept of Maya, I reacted to that concept of Maya the way I thought that it was necessary. And when I asked once Guruji, before that, I was asking Guruji, how can we know when we compose ourselves, if we are within the border of the Odissi, or we go outside? And he said, there is nothing like borders. He said, you just follow your aesthetic sense. So your aesthetic sense is your intuition, your aesthetic reaction, intuition, your creative intuition will guide you. So that was his answer. So this man, who was the most, is in a way traditionalist, in a sense that he come from the soil, he has revived the style, and he's supposed to be the most strict adherent to the style, but he was open to see that composition, that particular choreography, in the context of the meaning which I wanted to portray. So in that context, if we are able to justify what we are choosing, that particular movement should not, maybe the movement, it looks not Odissi if it is outside the context, but in the context in which we are using, we are to be able to justify and to give a reason why we have used. So, and that only the creative mind of the person who has created that particular things can reply. And a creative person like Guruji has understood that. So even if I use rolling on the floor, Guruji also used once the rolling on the floor after Kebata Prasan, when Rama and Sita has walk
I
around and he rolls on the floor.
Even in Dinabandhu, he always Sri Chandra
Yeah,
also.
and I use it because I wanted to show the beginning of creation, when the rocks and when it was wind and sand and rocks and the nature and Prakruti had not yet been formed. So I used things which is informal. I didn't want to make immediately form of Tribangi and like this, but I wanted to make things which were still in composition, in creation. So, but some people who didn't understand that, they said, oh, that is not Odissi, she's doing not Odissi. So, but the same composition done 10 years after or 15 years after didn't create any. So when we create, when we compose, when we experiment, we take a challenge. And we expose ourselves to the risk not to be understood. And maybe the things will be accepted maybe a little more ahead, more in future. But this challenge as a creative person, we have to take.
Okay. Now coming to Sahitya, when I am going to ask Subhas Pani again, whenever I see him, I see the musician in him. So with literature, the dance is two kind of relationship. One is that, okay, you take some literature, some poetry, and you enact it. But as a dancer, there is another, just you take the bani, the bowl, the dhvani. You don't take any meaningful songs. You don't take a lyrics. It's in Bharatanatyam, it's in Natya Shastra, it's called Nirgita Nritya. So these two relationships, do you think dancer gets her real self, her real independence, her real freedom in a dance which does not have literature?
I'm not very sure whether we...
Because
within the
just
confines
context
of
is, Chandralekha was very firm on that I don't want to be a victim of Sahitya. I want to make my independent statement as a dancer.
No, I think there are two dimensions to this. Some of the points which you've discussed are also issues which is being faced in other forms of dance, Bharatanatyam and many other forms, particularly Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam and others, where the experimentation is being done, and this question of, I think Aruna described it fairly well, and I had mentioned in a separate context in another forum. She talked about marg and experimentation, and then Ileana mentioned about border. I had mentioned that there is some kind of a Lakshman Rekha, and that Lakshman Rekha cannot be defined by somebody else. It has to be defined by the choreographer and the dancer, because she knows whether she's cutting that umbilical cord to Odissi. Then she will know. So long as she is connected to the mother force of Odissi, she knows that she is well within her domain of Odissi. Anyway, coming back to this question of pure dance. Now, words being there or not being there is not the central thing, because we have this concept of nrutya and nritya, where you have pure dance and dance supported by Abhinaya and Sahitya. So, in pure dance also there is a huge scope. The scope is literally unlimited. And from what Odissi started, I think in the 1950s in its revival, and what it is today, I think good amount of evolution has happened, and good amount of positive evolution has happened in terms of the pure music, and particularly on the rhythmic side, and on the percussion side, and also the bowls. I think some of the gurus, particularly the present generation gurus, I would say, if you go back to Kelu Babu, who was himself a great percussionist, I think one of the greatest of Odissi percussionists. Then you have Banamali Maharana. Then you have the current generation of Dhaneshwar Raut and some of his students. If you come to Dhaneshwar Raut, you can distinctly see that it has evolved. I mean, it has definitely evolved, I can certainly say. And for example, Vijayani in Bangalore, she is doing things which are slightly different. One may or may not have, be absolutely in sync with that. But certainly that is I would say it has not completely deviated. It is within the, but it has extended the scope. One may or may not say whether it is 100% Margam or ye. So a lot of experimentation is being done, because the pure dance has 2-3 aspects. One is the movement side, and one is the expression side, and the third is the percussion, which is the A, plus also there is a supporting music. So on all this side, first point I made was that the possibilities are immense, so that doesn't constrain. It is for the artist. Ultimately, the artist is a creative person, and I would say that in all this, while the dancer's performance doesn't exist in isolation, that means he is also dancing with the music and other things, but at the end of the day, it is the dancer whom the audience is seeing. So that is where the dancer still remains the center or the focal point, the fulcrum of that entire totality, if you say. So if she is getting the essential joy of expressing herself, whatever she wants to express, through a pure dance, I think that is fine. And in Odissi also, I think that Odissi is no less than any other form in India, in that sense.
Now, actually, we have two major sections, Pallavi and Batu. But if you see the evolution, in 50s and 60s, it was hardly 4-5 minutes dance numbers. Mohanty always said that it was never more than 4 minutes, the compositions. And from that, now we can see that a solo performance by Aruna Mohanty for 45 minutes or 1 hour 35 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes. So the evolution is there. There are so many good things has happened actually. Compositions, thematically we have grew up like anything. Musically, there are so many varieties. He was talking about Dhaneshwar Swai, and Dhaneshwar Swai is creating a great repository of tals actually. He is creating numbers of new things actually. So in that way, when our evolution is so perfect, so good, what is the future? Where we are going from now? Because this is the last round of question I'm going through. From here, where we are leading? What is the way ahead actually? That was the central theme of this discussion.
Taking the cue from Kedar, I want to ask a question to him and to the distinguished audience here. Since we were talking about the music and Sahitya, words, so do you think the spoken words or written words are Sahitya?
Again, that's a very, Sahitya is so vast. That can also, even Tarijam can also be a Sahitya.
Okay, no, without Tarijam, if I'll do something here for 30 seconds and I'll tell you a story through it, just with music or probably silence. And when I'm telling you a story and you understand it, so what is that? When a story is understood, I'm not talking about abstract like Pallavis where no stories is told, only the joy is expressed through gestures and body postures and bhangis and all that. But if I'm telling a story through my expression with the help of music, and at the end of my performance, the audience get the essence of the story, what you say?
Do something.
No, what? Whether,
that's the mastery of you. That the way you express, that is you. That I wanted to tell. That when you are doing something and that is your statement, that is the dancer in you, She is independent. She is so strong that she does not need any support, not even music, not even Sahitya. She is the dancer in you who is really competent enough to make her statement so loud and so clear.
That is why in Odissi framework, Odissi structure, we have, at certain places we give importance to music. At certain compositions, it's very Sahitya based. In certain compositions, we have taken the folk music and folk culture and the tribal music and tribal movement and drums and everything we have incorporated to expand the territory of Odissi dance using the literature. And that when we are talking about literature, we have taken literature from different generation. In fact, when I did the poem written by Mayadhar Mansingh, people thought it's a modern poem, why you want to do it in Odissi? But now, after 15, 20 years, most of the dancers are so comfortable with the poems written by even the young poets like Kedar and some other poets. So it is expanding. Let us expand it within the territory. It's just that with your years of practice, your years of understanding, and as you read more, as you watch and observe people and other art forms, you know, you are a student, you are learning every day, but you know how to draw a line of auchitya, appropriateness.
Okay, Ileana, from where? From here, where we are going?
Well, I think I'm very optimistic because there are so many young people who are now taking up Odissi, and they are all educated, studied, and questioning and analyzing and interpreting. And so I think a lot of vibrant atmosphere is there. And of course, it is on us, our generation who are so lucky to have learned from the originator, from the Adi Gurus, who have to instill in these young people, to make them not to kill their enthusiasm, because the enthusiasm to be vital and to be young is to be there, but also to instill on them all the principles and all the depth of this dance, which we inherited from our guru. So, but I am optimistic.
Okay. Subhas.
The Odissi, as I just mentioned in my earlier intervention, has expanded its horizons on many fronts. But what is particularly important is also to keep the feet firm on the ground of Odisha, on the soil of Odisha. The soil of Odisha, with which its music, and particularly, I am particularly sort of not concerned really, but I feel that it's an important responsibility for all of us to rediscover the great lyrical literature, the fund of literature which is there. When we did Usavilas, which is a major literary work in Odisha, lyrical literature, unless we had consciously made that effort, it would not have happened. Today, I think that kind of effort is required, because that khajana, if I may use a popular expression,
that Gantaghara is to be explored actually.
Is to be explored. So I would urge the younger generation, particularly with the guidance of seniors like Aruna and Ileana and the many others are there who are very experienced, and they can come and they can take the help of some of the people who are alive, like Professor Rajat Kumar Kar, who is, because of his involvement with the Banja movement and all that, their understanding of the lyrical literature of Odisha is very great. Some of these people are there for some time only with us. So
Okay.
I think that is the requirement.